And we're joined now by David Fleming of ESPN.com. David, recently you've been on the football subsection hands beat, writing about hand size as well. This week, the big headlines: Joe Burrow's hands too small in the eyes of scouts. Does it mean he'll never be able to play in the NFL?
Yes, Joe Burrow needs to look for something else to do with his life because, as he tweeted, his career is essentially over now that he only has 9-inch hands. One of the things that we discovered, though, and Joe Burrow will be happy to hear this, that for decades now, the NFL has been measuring hand size, believing that there's a correlation between a quarterback's hand size and their performance eventually in the NFL. It turns out there's absolutely zero correlation between hand size and hand strength and hand size and a quarterback's performance in the NFL. So the NFL, in all of its grand wisdom for decades, has been drafting the most important position in sports based on a measurement that means absolutely nothing.
Well, David, these guys, the scouts and the team executives and the coaches, they're not stupid. They've dedicated their lives to the game. Why would they believe that hand size matters?
I think in general sense, and this is a hard thing to grasp. In a general sense,
so to speak,
the bigger the hands, the better, obviously. But by the time quarterbacks sort of by the time they get to this level, the field has been narrowed to the point where the variation in hand size means absolutely nothing. You're talking about the difference between a gigantic hand in the eyes of NFL scouts, which would be Russell Wilson at 10.5 inches, and Joe Burrow with his tiny, minuscule baby doll hands, 9 inches. I mean, that's half the width of your phone. It means absolutely nothing.
When did you first observe up close, David, this misguided obsession with hand size and quarterbacks?
Well, obviously, I have no personal experience with small hands, tiny hands, or anything of that nature. But I was at Jamarcus Russell's pro day at LSU, and
one of the great busts in NFL history.
Yes, and he was. It did not go well. Let me put it that way. And so I walked out, sort of chased down a GM and a coach who I respected their opinion, and I asked them, and I said, I don't think that went very well. And their response was, it was okay, but did you see his hands? They're ginormous. And I just thought, well, oh, okay. And then as we saw that play out, we realized having giant hands has absolutely nothing to do with being a good quarterback.
So, David, in psychology, there is a term, I believe it's called illusory correlation. Is that what this is about?
Absolutely. And the mental side of this is fascinating to me, right? There's already a problem in the NFL, the scouting world, with groupthink as it is. Sort of everybody's sort of consensus is valued more than critical thinking. But an illusory correlation is exactly what's going on here. It's where the mind sort of comes up with a belief and clings to that belief by using only anecdotal evidence that supports that belief. The example I use in the story is, every summer there are 1 or 2 shark attacks, and we all stay out of the water for weeks, not realizing that millions of people have actually swam during that period without being eaten by a shark. It's the same thing here. Just because 1 or 2 quarterbacks were great because of their big hands, or 1 or 2 quarterbacks were terrible because of their small hands, that doesn't mean that you can draw a direct correlation to success and hand size.
No more correlation between great writers and their hand size than great quarterbacks and their hand size. David Fleming of the Very Large Hands, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.